Yeah, so welcome. I think yesterday was good. I was quite tired. Fell asleep over my work last night. Um, but it was a good day, I think. And I think from the feedback, a little bit of feedback we received so far, and the conversations we had, I think we're heading on the right track. Lots of work still to do. It's very compact, as Carmen told me yesterday. And there are many things that we still have to explore. Ascari asked me about what's going to happen online. So we're still going to spend time on that on tomorrow, actually. Enough time to that you can be exactly sure what we need to do, etc. But there's just one or two things that I wanted to focus on. Also coming back from your feedback. The first is looking back what we have learned, and the point about the digital scholar or your digital identity. Just want to link back to that quickly as well. You will see here on the screen there's another kind of a framework. Remember we looked at the visitor and what's it, resident map, which I think was quite resonant. Then we had the JISC digital capabilities profile, which I don't think we didn't go into too much detail in. But both those, there's like a theory behind it, and the same here. So I'm just mentioning it because we actually have a short course in the Digital Scholar that we've developed at Stellenbosch University, and this is the kind of framework that we came up with to try and integrate this idea of the academic being one person, having one identity. Because often we chop ourselves up into, I'm now a teacher, now I'm a researcher, now I'm community interaction, now I'm administrator, and all the other roles that you possibly could have. So what happens if you actually say that I'm one scholar, I'm one person, and I do my work? And then what we came up with is this, that looking at the digital, you could rather look at different kinds of practices or roles you could be, like the scholar as an author, scholar as storyteller, creator, integrator, or networker. And the research, teaching, and service, is all included. So all the skills, all the tools, all the knowledge, the attitudes, everything you have can be applied to all the roles. And it seems quite simple, but I've found it over the years to be people compartmentalize their lives. So now we're in teaching and learning workshops, so now we it's almost like you forget all the other things, or now we research, so you don't make the connections back to teaching and learning, and now we community interaction. And once you start putting that on the table, I think people make the connections. So just giving you an example, maybe in this group as well, often people say, but yeah, we don't have skills in the digital, all of this is very new, etc. And you start asking people, but tell me about your industry and the tools that you actually use for research and tools in the industry, or flying the most technical plane and with all that software, and then people come up with this hugely complex things that they're already doing and all these amazing skills with the digital. And so there's often that disconnect between what I can actually do and skills I have, and then just branching it out now also to teaching and learning. Yeah, so the first little interactive exercise I want you to do, we mentioned poll everywhere. Rugire mentioned it. So just to take this point, to sort of close it off around the digital scholar, I've prepared a little poll everywhere. And I'm now just going to go out to poll everywhere to show you how it looks on my end. And I'm going to activate this thing. And that's the one poll I put up for you. So how it works, and you'll see now a poll everywhere will show you exactly what to do. You can put this on a PowerPoint. It actually has PowerPoint integration, Keynote and stuff, so you Google Slides. So you can make it more seamless that I'm doing now. But I'm doing this that you can also see the interface and just see how quickly, how easily one could set this up, etc. So obviously you get an account, and then once you're in the account, it just wants you to start creating polls, and then it leads you what kind of poll do you want to create, etc. Now you'll see I've got my own little channel. It's pollev.com/JP Bosman 138. Remember, with Socrative, Isabel always had us go to the same place and use the word integrate. That's her classroom. So all the stuff that she will present in Socrative, you'll always just need to go to the same classroom, as it were. So this is, in a sense, my little classroom that I've created today. So all the interactions we'll do, the two we'll do in Poll Everywhere shortly, is there. It works very nicely on the mobile, so you're welcome to go there. But the point here is that you can have any web-based device with a browser, and you can participate. Actually, text messages are also integrated, so I didn't try this out, but you could SMS to +61, which is an overseas one, so it's probably going to be a very expensive SMS. So don't do it. But you could actually, for conferences, etc., etc. So just placing this question to you as an audience, and I would like you to respond. Are you guys seeing that when you log in? You must go to pollev.com/JPBosman138. Okay, and then you should see this in this question: how committed are you to developing your identity as a digital scholar? And then there's some options. Are you guys seeing it? Yes? No? Okay. Makali, are you seeing it? pollev.com/JPBosman138. Huh? Oh. Perfect. Okay, great stuff. But everybody in? Paul, Ryan, you guys in there? All right, excellent. So when it comes up, so it's not too a serious question, but I think it's important to start linking the kind of theory that we mentioned. Now, it's good to talk about the digital scholar, etc. But you know, if you think about your own life, and this is anonymous, how committed do you think you are is actually to developing your identity as a digital scholar that integrates different things, etc. So you can just make your decisions. And we can see here that we've got six results so far. 7. And you can also toggle it in this way, so you only have the questions, and if you want to then see the results, the tada effect, you click there and you immediately see where your audience is. If you integrate this into PowerPoint, it actually builds on your slide, so it's pretty neat that one does that. So I think we're gonna end it now, but no one is not committed. there's one theorists, and there is some commitment, and one that says I actually am already in that space, etc. So I think that's important also to see, where this group is and where are we heading to, as it were. Okay, so that's one example of Poll Everywhere, and getting some nice quick feedback on that. Yes, right?
I see there's an app.
Yes.
Poll Everywhere. So your audience, in our case, a class, could just download the app.
Yeah,
and if you
absolutely.
Is it easier that way?
Yeah, it will definitely be. Yeah, definitely. And then they'll just type in the room will be JP Bosman 138. Yeah. But like you've seen, it's pretty responsive and quick on the phone as well. And I can actually, if I do this now, I close it, you'll see it then. Let's just see. No, I have to go to polls. And here I can deactivate it, and now boop, it's off. Now you can do nothing. It's the same as what Isabel did yesterday with Socrative. So there was something happening, and she controlled it, etc. All right, so let's continue with the PowerPoint. Keep your poll everywhere open because I'm going to do one shortly as well. So the second one is that we've seen the use of Twitter, and Daniela actually mentioned it already, and thanks to Donna and all the others who tweeted, we have a brilliant sort of a waterfall kind of archive documentation of where we were at. Just want to show you again, just for your reference. But I'm not going to do it all. But the point is here, we've seen now in action how beautiful something like this could work to actually create memories and process this journey we were talking about as to what we actually did yesterday. All right, so just refreshing your minds as to that. Then in terms of poll everywhere, I also thought to do this, which is a word cloud. So this is another option. I think we mentioned it yesterday, Ryan, and Jacques is not here, but we mentioned this idea of a word cloud. So some of the examples we've seen is we put in text, and it just basically came up as text with Isabel. We could do multiple choice where we can quickly poll, etc., and get graphs going. But we can also do a word cloud, which we'll see how it works. This was Daniela's idea originally. So we're going to see how this is working now. Right, so this is the one. What have you learned more about so far during the course? I'm going to activate it. Okay. And then you will see now on your screens, and I'm seeing it on my screen, that question. Now, before you answer, I want you to think back, reflect a little bit about what happened yesterday. And this is not a question, it's not the same question as we asked about, what did you like, what didn't you like, etc. Because we've already captured that. I'm asking the next question, actually the deeper question, maybe the more difficult question, and that is the question about the knowledge about blended teaching and learning, the knowledge, everything that we spoke about yesterday. So if you can quickly reflect and just write, you can write short not paragraphs, phrases or words, etc., on the things that you've learned about. So what have you learned more about so far during the course? You understand the distinction we're making? And please, you're welcome to post there. I've set it up that you can post more than once. So if you want to just, I think, add, type again and add. And here it starts coming up and it builds a word cloud, which means that if it finds repetition of certain concepts or words, that text will grow bigger. So if somebody else types technology, let me see if it's going to do that. Technology, submit. Yeah, the technology has just grown a little bit more. Sorry? Ach, nee. Sorry. Supposed to go out of this now. No. Okay. Okay, is that better? Here we go. This is quite magical actually. So as the contributions come in, it starts figuring out, what is the main thing, etc. So blended learning, obviously, as a concept, was some things that we learned about. Digital, it could be the identity, could be technology, and it could combine with some of the other concepts. But those three are some of the important ones standing out. Blended learning, digital, identity, I guess, or technology and technology itself, and learning about it, and all the others. So the applications, there's the augmented reality again, how to prepare, how it connects to teaching, the breadth of it all, the depth, online, identity, coherent, difficult. So it's interesting to sort of gauge, as it were, where the audience is, where you guys are, what you are thinking, and what's important to you. And now this is something we could potentially take further into a discussion, etc., going forward. So blended and learning is just growing. Sonia wins. Okay, so just going back to the last slide, and I'm cognizant that we have about 5 minutes left. But I just wanted to recap in this one, which was mentioned quite often yesterday during the feedback, is this whole idea of the teaching change framework, which is Isabel, brought into our midst, and that she started to explain the framework, and we did some examples. But I think I just thought we could just quickly refresh our memories on this again, and then do 1 or 2 examples, and then I'm going to ask Viv or Daniela to just say something short about this idea of transmission versus transformative type pedagogies, because they're very deep into that work, and that's sort of part of what they do. So just linking back, showing the next one, this is the framework, and the A or B sides, if you can remember, is basically when you don't really have digital technology, actually, you don't really use it, okay? D and C are more, yes, I'm actually integrating some technologies and using it in different ways. And remember, the difference between the 2 sides is, on this side, it's more of the basic levels of Bloom's taxonomy. It's the lots, it's the lower order thinking skills. And this is very teacher-centric. So the teacher has control, it's teacher-led, etc., etc. On this side, we've got the more, let's call it student-led, or the HOTS, which is the higher order thinking skills, higher order Bloom's taxonomy. That's how they figured it out. And where the student is given agency and can do things, use the technologies, etc. And that's how you can then place yourself. And Daniela just told me, going through all the vocies that were set up, remember, you had to say, I want to move to. Actually, most of the vocies said, we want to go to C. Some D, but most said C. And that's important, and we're going to come back to it later today when we start looking at the course outline process of the design process. We have to remember, this is our aspiration. Because it's easier, I think, to go here, we'll see. But remember, this is the aspiration. We want to move to C. So just quickly.
Actually, you said high C.
High C.
There are some people that they want to be on high C.
Yes. So they want to sail on the high seas. Okay, let's take a thinking experiment. Right, think back to Mary. She was our first contestant, our first practitioner. She did the podcasts, the flipped classroom approach, etc., etc. Now that you know what she's doing, where on the grid would you place her? A or B probably is out because she does integrate technology. Although some of the things she does in class, could still be A, for example, when it's discussions, etc. But let's say her whole concept of preparing for the class. So where would you place her whole, broadly speaking, her whole approach? D. Does everybody agree? Because she makes the podcast, she makes up the quizzes, she's guiding, she's leading, and the students basically just follow and go in the learning process. They can respond with open questions, but that's not them really taking agency and being creative, etc. Who was second? Rugira. Where would you place her? Remember, she did with the nurses, the poll everywhere, and Socrative, that she wanted them to engage more, working groups, etc., etc. Where would you place her? Okay, we've got a D, we've got a C. Nigel, why do you think C?
I think because the students are also involved in the use of digital literacy that we're talking about.
Yeah. So they have to manipulate it, and and she also said she gets them to talk about it then. So they come up with creative reasons. So it's not just remembering. It could be probably moving more towards analyzing, because she does cases, maybe evaluating, etc. The point isn't to place somebody in one or the other. The point is to actually have a tool to think about what we are doing. And so it's nice that she's probably moving between D and C. Maybe they're in the middle somewhere. Then we had... Who?
The lawyer. No.
Yeah, no, she was first. Oh yeah, then we got Ilse. Ilse, and remember what they did? They made, in preparation of practicals for science, chemistry, they made videos also introducing the lab and introducing the parapet you have to carry over your shoulder. Very effective, I can even remember that. So where would you place her approach towards teaching according to this framework? D, the teachers make the videos. The teacher decides how this whole thing works. You need to watch it and do quizzes before you're allowed into the prac, etc., etc. So yeah, I would say D. Then we had the augmented reality. Now I didn't listen in very much detail, and we didn't go into actually how she uses it educationally, and I think I obviously missed that. But from what you guys have heard and your interview with her, where would you place her approach to using technology? And why? Anybody?
I think it's
Yeah,
a D.
yeah.
She creates it.
Yeah, the students are still relatively passive. I mean, it's fun, but they're still just watching and receiving, unless, of course, the task is for them to make.
Aha, yes.
Is that the one with the animation?
Yeah, where you point your phone and then something pops up. You have that trigger image, and then it, yeah. So yeah, I think Ryan is correct. You know, depends on how you use it, and many of these tools work this way. If you use the tool as a teacher to, let's say, Camtasia, I use it to create videos. Then it's probably more D and teacher led, but I could give the students the same tool and say, now you go and do something creative to analyze, evaluate, create, etc. But then it changes. So this is a very interesting mind shift that we need to make. I have to wrap up, but I just quickly want to ask Daniela or Viv if they can just say one thing, because this is actually quite, not serious, but it's actually quite important. This move towards from a teacher-led, and remember our guest coming to speak here was also yesterday more of a teacher-led, so more D, I guess. And this morning we'll hear probably a little bit more student-led, so moving towards C. But why is it important? I don't know, Viv or you, Daniela, just want to say maybe one or two words about that.
I think the transformative would be more C, but I think transformative is one step beyond that too, because it focuses on the issues of social justice, on students engaging critically with material and that sort of thing. So I think it's not really only what you're using, but it's your intent and your purpose in pedagogy. I don't know.
So it's the larger goal that we strive towards, which is missing a little bit in this place. So there's nothing around teaching philosophies or why you teach, what you want to teach, what kind of graduate attributes, what kind of student do you want to have at the end of your course. You want a student with social responsibility, with critical thinking skills, who is able to understand social justice issues and respond to them. Like if you have a teacher, for example, how do you prepare a teacher for the kind of social context that they're going to engage with? So the transformation goes beyond a teacher and learner centered approach. That is really about your final goal of your teaching, what it is that you want to achieve at the end of the day, and you want your students to achieve.
So the more democratic way in which you can do your classroom, I think, is important towards that, but it's not sufficient.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, Michael. The guests are here ready to speak with us. So I think I'm going to